Welcome to another edition of Popcorn Bucket List. I am your host, Nick Dahlhoff, and we have survived spooky season.
We have.
It is now legal to blast your Christmas music at full volume because there aren't really any Thanksgiving songs. So it's now legal.
Yeah.
Before it was illegal.
Yeah.
Now it's legal.
Yeah, it might still be looked down upon for a couple more days, but we'll be all right. We'll be all right.
Sitting right next to me, you know this guy is blasting Christmas music 24/7. It's Mr. Ryan Meyerberg.
How we doing? Glad to be here.
Yeah, you're definitely in the festive spirit.
I am. This is my Amon Amarth t-shirt. They are Viking heavy metal. They're pretty awesome. I don't know if they have any Christmas songs out, but I will be looking into that after the show.
Feels like everyone's got a Christmas album.
They probably do. They probably do.
So, Ryan, we have kind of a big announcement here. This channel we've been doing this show on this channel for a while. This channel is evolving. We are adding to it. This week will be a new episode of a podcast some of our friends have made. Mitch Reby, Kyle Cox, they've been really helpful with our behind-the-scenes stuff. They have their own thing going on. 50-50, take it or leave it. They got a new episode coming out this Thursday here on the new network that we call home for Popcorn Bucket List, OMNI Entertainment. I don't know if there's going to be a graphic underneath this or something for that, but that is what we're doing here for the future. We hope to bring out some new projects, some fun videos. That is a weekly podcast. It's going to be coming out Thursdays, Popcorn Bucket List, and other shows are going to be coming out here on Tuesdays. So be sure to check those out. With this show, we talk about movies specifically. Their show, it's new every week, pretty much. It's
pretty much every week. They pop culture, movies, games, all kinds of stuff. I'm excited. I've seen a little tidbits of it, but I'm excited to sit down and actually watch the show from beginning or listen to the show beginning to end. So it'll be good. I'm excited.
But let's move on to some of the movie talk we've got here. Not a lot of news came out this month, but there was something big in the streaming wars. We did view our first casualty in the streaming wars. The network known as Quivi, which was a phone app that was about 10-minute shorts that you could watch on your phone, unfortunately closed its doors. We now take a few moments here to represent our fallen. Didn't have a long run.
No.
But it did give it its best.
It was there.
Ryan, what was your favorite Quibi thing?
Actually, my favorite part of Quibi was on YouTube, skipping through the trailers, because they would have Quibi ads all the time, and I would skip through them. I did not see anything on Quibi, and I don't think I ever will.
That Andy Kendrick thing looked pretty interesting, though. Oh, well.
Oh, well. Goodbye,
on to the
Quibi.
previews.
Goodbye, Quibi.
Yeah, goodbye, Quibi. It was a good run. But not a lot to talk about for previews coming up this month in the theaters.
Another hard month.
Yep.
It's
November, and in the past, November has been a pretty prosperous month, especially when you get towards the Thanksgiving time period. So let's just take a quick look at what we do have something to look forward to coming out here wide in cinemas. Coming out November 6th is the movie Let Him Go. This is a Kevin Costner and Diana Lane movie. These two are grandparents who are trying to get their grandson and their son's widow away from essentially an abusive new husband out in kind of the Dakotas, Montana area, so it's a very rural story. The job becomes a little bit harder than they initially thought. If you recognize Kevin Costner and Diana Lane in a parenting kind of role together, it's because they played Pa and Ma Kent in Man of Steel. And if this is not some sort of secret prequel to Man of Steel, I'm going to leave the theater disappointed.
I'm thinking the post-credit scene might.
The grandson was Superman all along.
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think they do. They both do that kind of father and mother figure role pretty well. And just from their own separate films where they played similar characters, whether it's the father or mother, but they are good in those types of roles. So it'll be interesting to see them, back at it again, teaming up, and it'll be interesting.
Coming out November 13th. That is Friday the 13th. Hopefully there's not a full moon there that night. Otherwise, we're just hitting the trifecta. It is the movie Freaky, which is a horror comedy starring Catherine Newton and Vince Vaughn. Now, this is a body swap movie, much like Freaky Friday is probably one of the more popular ones. Probably where they got this title of Freaky from. But basically, it's about a serial killer played by Vince Vaughn who accidentally switches bodies with this high school girl played by
that he was trying to kill.
That he was trying to kill. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah. He's a serial killer, so
that's what he does.
Yeah, that's what he does.
That's what he does.
So they switch bodies, and now Vince Vaughn, who now is a high school girl, basically, has to try and switch back bodies with the serial killer now inhabiting the high school girl's body, who's now essentially a wolf in sheep's clothing in a high school.
Yes. Yep. So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be interesting. I haven't seen Vince Vaughn in a comedy per se for a while. I've seen him in a couple more serious roles lately, and I think it'll be a nice refresher of Vince Vaughn back in a comedy situation. So I think it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, he has proven before he can do dramatic stuff.
Yes, he can.
He has proven time and time again he can do almost all forms of comedy.
Yeah.
So it will be good to see him, especially if he does the serial killer role early on in the film before the body swap. It will be kind of interesting to see him do both.
If we get that aspect of a kind of a more crazy, unhinged serial killer first, and not just have the swap right away, I think that'll be a good dynamic for the film. So.
And then finally, coming out November 25th, right before Thanksgiving, is The Croods A New Age. This is an animated sequel that follows the Neanderthal family from the previous movie, The Croods, that runs into a more evolved Homo sapien family. This is an all-star cast, and some of them include Nick Cage, Emma Stone, Ryan Reynolds, just to name a few. I'm going to be honest. I saw the first Croods movie. Didn't do much for me.
Yeah.
For some reason, didn't entertain me too much.
Yeah.
Looking at the trailer for this movie, it looks like it could be pretty funny.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. I might have had a little bias because when the first Croods came out, I was working in the movie theater, and we had to set up a big standee of the Croods. And if you know much about setting up standees in movie theaters, they take a long time. They're big cardboard things. You got to punch out holes and connect and stuff. And it took a very long time, and I was not too happy by the time it was done. And
by the time the movie came out, you were just like, to heck with this family.
I
don't want anything to do with this family
But I did watch it, and like you said, it was all right. It wasn't anything like spectacular, but it was a kids animated show. So I'm excited to see the second one, just kind of see where they take it.
Yep. So those are some of the big movies coming out this month. Like I said, slim pickings. We'll have to hope and see. As of right now, some of the big movies that are planning to hopefully come out in December look like they may hold. But we'll have to wait and see on that. So yeah, not too much to look out for this month. Really only 3 that we're kind of looking at here. But these 3 that you can check out here in the local area, the Marshall 6th Theater. Be sure to check out their website for their show times. As of right now, they have limited days open. They're primarily open Friday through Sunday on the weekends, as well as movie night Tuesday night as well. So be sure to check out those show times. They also have been surprising us because they have these $5 movie specials, these throwback specials. Last month they had a whole scary movie Halloween thing.
They had all kinds of older scary films. I shouldn't say necessarily older, some a little bit newer scary films. And yeah, it's just good to, go watch a film that you haven't seen in a long time in the theater. And it's quite fun. It's a good time.
Yeah. Or even in some cases, a couple months ago, they had that Empire Strikes Back special in the theater. As someone who was not alive in 1980, when they really would have liked to have seen Empire Strikes Back, it was a really great experience for me to sit in there. And it was like watching it for the very first time. It sounds cliche and it sounds silly, but really just seeing something on a big screen, it brings me joy.
Yep, me too.
So let's get into some recommends. Now, we're going to do something a little bit different here. Again, because 50/50, Take It or Leave It, is joining us here on the OMNI Entertainment Network. We're going to talk about podcasts, some of the recommends we've watched or listened to, I should say. Ryan, do you got any podcasts you listen to?
Yeah, I actually got 2. One I'll talk about a lot more than the other one. Obviously, I'm sure many of you guys listen to the Joe Rogan Experience. I mean, he's one of the biggest podcasters in the world, if not the biggest podcaster in the world. Great stuff. I'm a little more choosy on which ones I listen to. But the big podcast I've been listening to lately, it's called The Last Podcast on the Left. And they are a horror, scary podcast. They actually, Last Podcast Network is what they're under because they have some side stories and stuff. But their main podcast is they will deep dive a subject for either one episode, 2 to 3 to 4 episodes. And it can be anything from conspiracy theories to ghosts to hauntings. This summer, I believe, was just like they did one all about cults. And it's usually 1 or 2 episodes a week, and they would have a 3-hour episode about cults, or about a specific cult, and they really deep dive them. Same thing like some murderers and kind of like the darker side of those things, and it's very interesting because you learn a lot about these people that were in the cults or these monsters or conspiracy theories and stuff, and I really enjoy them. They're really funny. And there you learn a lot, so that's kind of what I've been listening to.
So yeah, a podcast I'm going to recommend that I've been listening to, just started to. I'm a big fan of movies, obviously, in case you haven't noticed. I also kind of like history, and one that kind of combines them both is Truth versus Hollywood. This is a fairly new one. Basically, it's these two hosts that go into movies that are based on true stories. They interview people, historians, cops, if it's a crime thriller kind of story, and they go into, okay, what was real, what was fabricated, stuff like that. But if you're into history and movies and you want to combine that, Truth versus Hollywood is kind of my recommend. So those are some of the podcasts we are recommending. Again, 50-50, take it or leave it. A new podcast coming here to OMNI Entertainment. Be sure to check that out this Thursday. It's new every week. They got different topics. Be sure to check that out this Thursday. But we do want to talk a little bit about what we've been watching as well. Ryan, what have you been checking out recently?
Well, one film that I watched recently, I wouldn't say it was a film, it was more of a documentary. It's called The Social Dilemma. I believe it's on Netflix, and it kind of takes a real deep look at our time that we spend on our phones and with the whole... I don't want to say social distancing, but that obviously is a part of it too. But it's mostly about how society we've changed from our person-to-person interactions to how we interact with our phones, and how like our phones and these big corporations, Facebook, Google, and how they kind of influence us to do things. And they have actually a lot of like the founders or IT people that all used to work for Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those companies, and they all left because they saw this problem and the companies refused to do anything about it. So if you should definitely give it a watch. It's only, I think, an hour and a half, and it is they do have some actors play out some situations to help show what they're talking about, and it's fantastic. It'll definitely make you think twice about some of the privacy rights that you give to these companies and what they're doing with them, and it's very eye-opening documentary.
Might actually read the terms and service thing.
Yeah.
I just skip through every time.
Yeah.
So we didn't plan for this, but I also have a documentary that I watched on Netflix. We're just educating ourselves.
Yeah, we are.
Month,
Getting smarter.
Yeah.
Getting smarter.
Mine that I watched was Challenger: The Final Flight. This is talking about the Challenger missions that took place in the late 70s, 80s era, the shuttle missions, and specifically the Challenger disaster that unfortunately occurred where the Challenger exploded. And it talks about what led up to that. How did they get to this point? What went wrong? But also it talks a lot about the astronauts that were part of it, their families, the impact they had, and just how, because in case some of you don't know, this was the flight where they were going to send a teacher up into space. This was kind of a big publicity thing for NASA, and so they also kind of spent a little bit of time, one episode, talking about the process, how they got to this teacher and everything. But yeah, if you can stomach the tragedy, it was a tragedy. It is it is interesting to see the interview with these people who were a part of this program and kind of the emotions they put out there of the regret and what they could have done and what they could have said maybe. It really is an interesting. It's just a quick 4 episodes. I blazed through it pretty quickly. Not an easy watch, I will say, but I think is kind of interesting to learn more. I think it's always interesting to learn about the tragedies that we face so that you learn from them and move on and try to figure out to be better and everything like that. So that's my recommend. A couple documentaries from us here, so hopefully we'll all get smarter together.
That's right. That's the plan.
Well, that's going to do it for us here on this episode of Popcorn Bucket List. Again, you want to check out the links in the description here for the Marshall 6 Theater, as well as the Cinema Safe guidelines. We want to make sure we are safe in these locations as we try to bring them back and make sure everyone has a good time while being safe at them. And again, be sure to check back here on this channel Thursday for 50/50 Take It or Leave It. That is a weekly podcast that is different every time, covers a lot of range of pop culture topics. So you never know what you're going to get with them. And if you have any of your own movie recommendations or documentaries or podcasts, anything like that,
at all,
be sure to drop them here in the comments down below. For myself and Ryan Meyerberg, we'd like to thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you at the movies.